there's just so many times business owners want to just hoard the information themselves, and it's just to the detriment. I mean, you can't run a business without people. That's ultimately it. And so being able to put time into people so they can eventually level up themselves. If you're, you know all the knowledge, but nobody else does.
Yeah, that's the point, right?
Yo!
Nerds.
Welcome to another episode on the Uncapped Network. Today we are honored to have Jackson Myers, a monster entrepreneur who owns Blue Diamond Window Cleaning and The Gutter Guys. He also coaches business owners who are looking to scale their businesses. Jackson, brother, thank you so much for coming on, bro.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm so excited to finally be here.
Yeah, this one's long overdue, bro. We've been wanting to sit down with you.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I've been watching what you guys have been doing, and it's really sick for that you guys are kind of putting a lot of Londoners on the map. There's a lot of successful business owners here that are, looking to grow their businesses, and it's hard to find entrepreneurs in your city. I mean, I didn't even know about so many of them until I watched your guys' podcast, and now I'm like, oh my goodness, there's this guy and this guy. And so it's exciting for you guys.
Yeah, we definitely have seen so many talented people in London within itself. That it's important to share all those stories. And like you said, a lot of people don't think that there's all these successful people in London. And then once you really dive into that niche, it's there's an abundance of people doing crazy things, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of times people, want to find people that are, doing big things, but it's hard when, you're not doing big things yourself. Once a couple people are doing big things, it's easy to connect. But when you're on the come up, they don't know you. You know them maybe. And so it's nice to be able to have a network like you guys where, you're just connecting business owners one after another. So it's great.
Yo, let's talk about the come up there with you. You're a monster entrepreneur. You're super young. You have successful businesses. How did you get into business at first?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I'm lucky. I have a dad that, growing up, he's a real estate agent, but he also flips houses. So, at 12 years old, I was, laboring for free, basically, for the notches at the end of the night. But, and so I got to see him, flipping houses and making money that way, and, coaching me and teaching me how there's a lot of ways to make money. It's not just, the conventional, get a job, work till you retire. And so I got to see it firsthand as I was growing up. So for me, having a regular job was never really an option for me. In my mind, I just knew I always want to do something myself. Yeah. But then really once I finished high school, I got a sales job, and I didn't do too well at that, to put that shortly. And so I got a taste of that. And then when I had a friend start their own business, I figured I'd go and work with him and see what that's like from, ground zero. And from there, over about a month or two working with him, doing window cleaning, actually, I figured, what, if you're doing it, I think I could do it. And so I took my stepbrother and my best friend. I'm like, hey, guys, I have an idea. And from there, we started our own. Now, the success back then, wasn't anything like it is today. And I think I still have tons and tons and tons of room to improve. But back then, it was just the beginning. And I certainly wasn't earning a lot. But I got to take the opportunity while I was so young, 17. I was able to learn, what it's like to run the business and all the aspects of, the marketing, the actual production systems. And so, the compound effect, year 7 now, we've obviously figured some things out through, networking, coaching, and just, actually doing it.
Yeah. And what was the first business called again?
So we actually worked for my friend Nazar. And he started Opulent Window Cleaning. Okay. And then for us, we actually started S&S Student Home Maintenance, which was basically spick and span. Yeah. And we just thought that was a cool name. Yeah. But I realized after that first year that most people don't really want to hire students, at least not the type of clients that I want to work for. The bigger houses, the higher type of clients. So after that year, we decided to switch it to Gutter Guys, and that was obviously a lot better. The name is, very catchy, and so people could remember it quickly. Yeah. And then from there, we just kind of kept growing.
And then you're doing this, the same time as you're doing school too, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I was playing basketball when I started the business at University of Ottawa my first year. Well, I wasn't really playing. I was actually a red shirt, mostly sitting in the bleachers watching the guys play. But I was kind of doing it then part time while I was in school. So I was kind of doing a bunch of things, and it is not the best way, in my opinion, to do so many things at once, because realistically, when your attention is split to 3 separate things, you're not able to really, dive deep into one and really excel. And so I was kind of doing 3 things, but none of them very well. And so, once I obviously progressed, I was able to, figure out which one I wanted to do. And COVID helped with that. Obviously business, basketball stopped, university stopped, the world stopped, but businesses didn't. At least, the trades businesses, you were still able to go and work. And so I was able to kind of pivot from the basketball and university and school and focus on that. And so that was cool.
Did you see a lot of growth during COVID times for your business?
Well, yes. Now, partly of that is because my attention wasn't split from, doing school and doing basketball. And so by default, it was going to grow. But then I think also it grew substantially because people weren't traveling anymore. And so a lot of people are now reinvesting in their houses. And so a lot of businesses, I mean, if you were an established business, your business was just booming like crazy.
Yeah.
And ours did, 4X, but from just, 100K to 400K. Right. And but it was helpful having everyone home. So, you knock on their door, there's a good chance they're probably home.
Yeah,
they might not want to talk to you. You might have to stand 6 feet back, but they're home. And so that was helpful.
Yeah. And like, what were the key things that you brought from like being an athlete to a business owner at that young age?
Yeah. I mean, growing up playing sports, you've got a schedule you got to follow, especially in university. You wake up 6 a.m., usually practice. And then, you've got to lift after that. Then you've got to go and, make your breakfast and then go to your classes. And then you've got to, watch film. And then you've got another, drills or shooting practice.
I don't know how you guys did it, bro.
Right?
Honestly,
yeah. And so
every week.
Every week, every day, and your body's sore. And then you've got, road trips. You got to go to, if you're in Ottawa, a road trip down to London, you're playing London, then you're playing, Windsor, and then you're driving back the same night. And then you've got class Monday morning. And so it was certainly a lot, but that was very helpful when I was transitioning to the business. I just took that same, schedule and, work ethic into the business. And that's what kind of helped me, get the edge over, when I was just starting. I really had no knowledge or experience. I had the work ethic. And I find that a lot of people don't have that as a foundation. And so they struggle when they go from, a job, for example, which gives you a schedule, what your schedule looks like for the week. Now you have all this time and you take advantage of it, which is what I did when I first started out. When I started at 17, 18, 19, those first 3 years, I took it as a side hobby, part-time job where I could work when I want. I could show my business card and flex on that. But then really my bank account was worse than if I just was working at McDonald's, actually clocking in and clocking out. And so it was certainly a struggle in at that time. I'd go to school with my credit cards empty, and I was hoping for the OSAP to hit so I could clear those up, pay off my bills, and then just live off of that. And so it was definitely tough, but now I look back and I just see it as a blessing, honestly, being able to have done that. When I didn't need money, I had OSAP. I was living in residence with friends, paying $400 a month. So that was helpful. Whereas now I see, trying to start a business, I couldn't imagine trying to start when you're in your 30s or 40s. I still recommend you try it. But when you have, a wife, you've got kids, you've got a mortgage, you've got all the other bills that are involved, and then you've also have no money coming in when you're starting the business, it's certainly tough. Yeah. And then you add on to that, you have no idea what you're doing in your business. It certainly is a tough time, I could imagine.
How was the support during that time? Like, were people like, go get a job? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you just coasting? Like, how was like the family support and then like the close friends around you?
Yeah, so my dad was definitely tough on us. Yeah. And at the time, it was definitely growing up, it was tough when, I'm at the YMCA just here downtown. Yeah. I see all the boys playing and I'm over there just doing suicides, And so it was definitely tough, but really once I was able to really just dive into it and put in the effort, it certainly helped a lot.
Yeah. What would you say is like when you noticed that your business was doing a lot better, like what did it take from you as the owner and like entrepreneur?
Yeah. So the really biggest thing for me was when I went to Barbados during COVID. Yeah. I actually picked up a book, and I used to be the guy in high school. I would pretend, I don't know where the library is, and I'd make fun of all those guys, just like the movies. The jocks that are like playing basketball, but they're horrible in school. They don't try. That was me, and I kind of embraced that character. But when I picked up the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, actually, I saw what my dad was talking about versus, the rich dad versus the poor dad. Mm-hmm. And, that just kind of clicked in my head, and I already knew it, but it really was just, that moment of like clarity. And so when I came back, I really decided to just dive in. I started watching, Valuetainment, PBD. That's why I'm really sure. Honestly, he's a monster, and I consumed all of his content, and he really, shed light on the fact that I was not really truly doing what I needed to do as the business owner. I need to be the one, setting an example for my other partners, as well as, the employees that were working for me. I didn't have many, but if they see you, chilling or slacking off, what do you think they're going to do? Especially as a small business. It's not like we're some Fortune 500 business that's making millions of dollars. They see us as a lemonade stand, and that's truly what we were. But if you're at least, really working hard for that lemonade stand, other people will feel inspired to, help you grow your lemonade stand. But so that was really a big thing, was picking up books and starting to read those. I think I started with Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I realized I had a lot of bad habits. I was, just smoking and drinking and doing all those things. And so then I read Atomic Habits, and that one really helped with, just trying to put those things aside. And then after that, I did like the 5 a.m. Club, and then I did David Goggins' book, to really, get my mindset right, to know that like life is hard, and regardless, life is hard, but it's hard to, to eat right, and it's also hard to eat junk food, because at the end of the day, it's going to catch up to you, and then you're going to be obese, and so you're not going to be healthy. And so I just decided I wanted to choose my heart versus letting the life be.
How do you get like that transition to stick? A lot of people like, they'll go through, like they read 1 book, 2 books, they're inspired, they feel motivated, then 2 months pass, 3 months pass, and then it kind of dies off, right? Like, how do you get that to stick within yourself and like in your business?
Well, it didn't stick. Like, it stuck, as you said, for 3 months, and then I kind of weaned off, and then I read the books again, and then so I just kept on trying to go back to the books, and that's why, for me, as opposed to watching, Netflix, I was a notorious Netflix binger. I was, watching every new show that came out. I was able to, recite it word for word, and I realized that, what, I really just gotta keep on going at the books. I mean, PVD says, leaders are readers, and so I really tried to embrace that. Whether it was whether podcasts, whether it was hard copies, or whether it was audiobook, I was really just trying to consume that. And the more you read, I mean, eventually it just starts to catch on to the point where, you see that it is a complete waste of time to, watch Netflix every single night, which is something that most people do. They get home and, their day ends, and then they want to just put their feet up. But as a business owner, you're there in the morning with the guys, you're working with them all day. And then when you get home, now you've got emails, you've got scheduling, you've got to send off quotes, you've got all these things. So, I'd wake up 6 a.m., work all day, and, go do quotes in the evening when people are home, and at nighttime, go and do the scheduling. And so I was working from like, 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. And certainly there was burnout, times for sure. And I think having, both locations, which I was doing during, university, Kitchener-Waterloo when I was at Laurier, and then also having London, I was driving back and forth. And so I definitely didn't help myself with just the amount of chaos that I created by trying to grow quickly and show everyone that I had 2 locations and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it just made me harder and made my mindset stronger. And it really just pushed me to the limits in terms of, how hard I can work. And I've kind of been able to, kind of lay it off a little bit, just so that way it makes sense. I don't burn out, because you don't want to burn out, but you want to get there and then kind of be able to find that balance. And so, that's
the toughest thing, is to like find that balance, like right before burning out, right? Because like you burn out, it could put you off for like 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, right? So it's something like, I feel like you're always going to have to be learning as like an entrepreneur. Would you say that? Or
100%. And I think that at that time, as I had mentioned earlier, when you are starting out, you don't have friends that are doing it. And so that was probably one of the hardest things, honestly, was going from, being in the limelight of, basketball, and, everyone, kind of knows you, and you're out there and you're having fun, and all your friends on the basketball team, there's a party, they're sending you the Addy to go, and you're always got something, you got someone always messaging you, a party to go to, things like that. But when you decide to go and start your business, all of a sudden, people aren't hitting you up. And I mean, maybe it's because I was telling them like, hey, I'm working constantly. Every time they hit me up, like, I can't come, sorry, I'm working, I can't come. And eventually they just stopped texting you. And then I got to the point where I was looking around, and, it was basically just me, my brother, and then my mom, who was working for me at the time. And so it kind of was lonely during that period for sure. But it's just kind of what has to happen. You kind of kill off some of the relationships that personally maybe weren't the best for you. Typically when I was hanging out with them, I was drinking, I was partying, or I was hooping. And those things aren't relevant to me now. And so I had to kind of shift my friend group a little bit. Not to say I don't talk to some of them, I certainly do, but I now mostly talk to, entrepreneurs, business owners, guys who are really trying to get to that next level, like you guys, like Justin, like Amar.
Yeah.
And so now, now that I'm with guys who are even, harder hustlers than me and are putting in even more work, now I'm able to check myself constantly, be like, wow, I know he's up early at the gym, or he's going for a ruck, or, he's reading that book. And when I'm just chilling, I'm like, damn, I clearly don't want as much of them, which obviously in my mind, I know I do. And so it just challenges me to constantly get to that next level.
Yeah. Has your passion for like ball switched over to business now?
Yeah. I mean, that was the beautiful thing when I started the business and kind of was doing it as like a part-time side hobby.
Yeah.
I was still building the business up slowly. And so when COVID hit, the world shut down, basketball stopped, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put the same effort that I was putting into basketball into the business. And it was certainly helpful to have that. A lot of guys struggle with that identity. Once they don't have the basketball around them, they weren't working on anything else behind the scenes or, on their off time. They were just, watching, Michael Jordan highlight tapes, stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas I was, after basketball, I'd, be going and, watching YouTube or, talking or reading books and stuff like that. And so when I did shift completely over, it was a lot easier. I was able to treat my business like it was basketball in the sense of that competition, that rivalry. There's tons of business owners out here that this is their full-time job. How am I going to compete with somebody who's only working on their business when I'm in school, writing women's studies papers? I'm, doing 5 hours of basketball a day, and then I'm spending maybe 1 or 2 hours on my business. You're going to get crushed. And that would be against, if somebody's trying to compete against me, it's like, okay, if you're not working on your business, 7 days a week, 8 hours a day or more, I'm going to crush you. Yeah. And now that I've grown the business, now I've got my two brothers, because I have two other brothers, my stepbrother and my half brother. Now I've got those two guys helping me every single day. And so now my output is not just, 10 hours a day. It's now 30 hours a day of constant, working towards the business, systemizing it. And so if you are, trying to start a business, keep that in mind. You are competing against the market. In the market, there's some dogs out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Was there any point in your business where it kind of outgrew faster than you expected, and you had to be like pedal back, like, oh shit, like we have so much leads now? Or
honestly, it was actually the opposite of that. So when I had the two locations, again, I did that because I had at the time 2 partners in London and I was in Waterloo. And so I figured, well, if I'm have to stay in, the summertime trading for basketball, I might as well open up a location here versus driving back and forth all the time. Yeah. And so we opened 2 locations. Now the issue was we didn't have proper systems. We didn't know how to, do proper sales. We didn't have great marketing. Our systems were horrible softwares. And so we now had double the amount of overhead. We had, more equipment, more subscriptions, more all the stuff. Yeah. But our revenue went up, but not at the same rate that it should have in order to keep up. And so at the end of, I believe it was 2021, I decided to shut that down and come back to London and just help my brother again. The really cool part about us is that we're different. He's very much good at, attention to detail. So on the tools, making sure the jobs get done right. Whereas I'm more of a people person. I do the sales, I do the system building. And so when we were in 2 separate cities, we weren't, playing to our strengths. We had to also, do some of our weaknesses. Again, my brother's not the best at emailing or the communication. And so now he was having to take on that burden of, scheduling, going to do quotes after all long day of work. And I would have to do the same thing on the tools all day when I necessarily wasn't the best at that. And so once I decided to come back to London with him, we were able then to say, okay, I'm not going to touch the tools and you're not going to do sales. Yeah. And now you work on your thing, I work on my thing. We obviously are still working together, but I'm not going to do something that I'm not good at and you're not going to do something that you're not good at. And as you grow the business, your goal is to put people in positions where they're good at. And that was something that we definitely struggled with in the beginning. We were putting people in the wrong spots, hiring people on and just putting them where we needed them, but not necessarily where they should have been. And those are all those things that you learn as you grow the business. Yeah. But certainly when we came back, we were able to work together versus kind of working separately. It just made things so much easier. It took a little bit of this, burden off.
Was that just trial and error, or did you learn how to run a business with systems somewhere and then had to implement it in your own business?
It really didn't change until we started buying some coaching programs. that was the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, you can constantly keep on trying to hammer away at the wall, but you might just need a sledgehammer, and you don't even know that. You think that your small little hammer is going to do it, but it's not. It's not the most effective way, and it's going to take forever. And so I decided to put the hammer down, get some help, and then they direct me as to what I should be focusing on, and what we should be doing first. Priority, picking priorities is extremely hard in the business. You think that your website is the number one. You think that getting the right shirts or the logo, when it's not really growing the business. It might look sexy, and to the eyes of the public, it might look like you're got a big business, but on the back end, you're just suffering because you don't have the systems of how to do things systematically, where you can then take yourself out, put somebody else in, and have them duplicate what you were doing. And so for the first 4 years, we just kept on putting band-aids over problems versus actually stopping and doing getting to the root of the problem and solving that. So that way we're not constantly having to put band-aids, because it's all right in the beginning when you got one employee and you can just bandage it up. It's not a big deal. When you've got now 15, 20 employees, imagine trying to put band-aids all day long. You can't. You're just now your problem, you're just fixing problems versus growing the business. And so that was helpful when we came back and we were able to diagnose the problems and then start to work at the problems. And it was only from having the outside coaching and mentors looking in and saying, this is a shit show. Like, you guys, I don't think you know this, but you guys are probably going to fail by the end of this year if you don't make these significant changes. And so once we had that guidance, and I think that's what a lot of people miss is if I told you right now you have a month to learn how to play piano, are you going to go and just hit the keys and try and figure it yourself?
No, you can't.
You're going to go and you're going to find someone who teaches piano on how to do it. So when you look at your business, it's like, why would you not just do the same thing? And it might cost you 10 grand, but at the end of the day, that's peanuts compared to what you're really costing yourself by not getting that help and not getting that guidance to say, do this, stop doing that, focus on this. Have you thought about this? You don't have the capacity to think of all those things because you're just the rat running on the wheel. And so once you're able to finally get off the wheel and look and see what the issue is, you can then fix it.
Was there a reason you chose the industry you're working in now?
So when I was doing the water filters, I saw that it was a luxury. Certainly it's not everyone has them. And while I am a big advocate for, the water filtration, now that I've obviously sold it, it's not a necessity. And when I went to work with Nazar, when he was starting his window cleaning, I saw that it was easy to sell and that, people typically, get it done often. And so when I went out my first day knocking on doors, I was able to sell a couple of jobs. And that was for me a really, eye opener to, this is something that people need. And so from there, that's kind of how it started. Had I maybe gone, now that I know, would I have started that? Maybe not. But either way, everybody starts, everyone thinks that their first business is going to be their only business. And that's just simply not the case. I don't love window cleaning. It's not my favorite thing. Certainly it's not going to be my last, business that I run, but it was an easy one in the sense that it didn't cost a lot to get in. You just need to go to the store, buy squeegees, buy, a dinky little pressure washer, and you can do the work. Now you might not be able to do it efficiently or effectively, but you can clean a window with a squeegee from dollar store. And so that was why we did it. But it certainly, every business has their problems. But now that I know, I'm looking at a business, I'm looking, the next business I start, I want to see, can I get to 100 million? Whereas window cleaning, 100 million, you got to be in a huge market. You've got to have, 200 staff, probably, 30 trucks. You've got to have tons and tons of clients that are reoccurring. And it's just because the barrier to entry is so low, there's going to be a bunch of guys that come in and undercut you. And again, the clients that I'm looking for won't leave for, $100 less because they care about the quality and the customer service. And they just know that when they, say, yes, go ahead and do it, they know that they don't got to worry about, us denting their gutter or, cracking a window. That's taken care of. And so certainly within every industry, you've got to just find the right, clients that you want to work for. But there are businesses that are certainly easier to scale at a quicker rate. You just got to find them.
Was it hard for you to price at the beginning? Like, how are you guys coming with the right price? Like, this is our price.
Dude, the amount of jobs that I've done that I've just lost my shirt as I couldn't even count them all. But I was just eyeballing for even the first 3 years. I was just going out eyeballing because I knew, because I had started doing the work to begin with, I could look at a job and say, okay, that's going to take 2 hours. That'll be, $200 or whatever it was. But when I'm doing that, it's fine. But now when I was trying to teach sales guys, I'd be like, okay, look at that. Like that window there, that looks like that might be a 10-minute window, and that one there. But it's really hard because there's so many. I mean, when you offer window cleaning, gutter cleaning, pressure washing, siding cleaning, concrete sealing, it's hard to tell them just to eyeball everything like you've seen because they're new and you've seen different types of concrete, or you see different types of siding. Maybe one needs to scrub, the other one needs to have a soft washing. And so to teach somebody that just by, just saying it to them, you could imagine how long that takes and how easily they could mess up a quote. And now you've told the client it's $300. And I look at that and I'm like, that would be $1,000. You know what I mean? But now because, for my brother and I, we're all about integrity. We're going to go and do it for $300. But now we've just not only, broke even, we lost money on the job, but the client's happy. So good. And, we certainly took a lot of licks to figure it out. But like now at the point where we have, calculators that, when you go to a job, like I could have you go and quote a job and you could punch in the calculator and say, okay, this many feet of gutters, this much siding, here's the price. And, from there, you can obviously bring it up a little bit or, bring it down a little bit based on the house. But more or less, you could go there and quote a job and I'd be okay with whatever price you put as long as you said something within what the calculator said.
Yeah. Okay. It's crazy. Like that's what it takes though, right? Is like that being that specific, using like all those tools to like grow your business, right? Because a lot of people sleep on that. And like a lot of business owners do it the old school way where they just go in, no systems. Like the code is different from if you send your buddy who works for you, you know what I mean? So, like, was it hard for you to integrate with like online technology, like, and your employees? Was that tough at first?
Yeah. I mean, I used like Jobber to start. And so within like the first 2 years, we started using Jobber, and that was helpful. That while it was helpful, it also allowed us to not grow some of the aspects because it kind of did some of it for you. And it wasn't necessarily customized to us specifically. It's just a generic software that, landscapers use, cleaners use. And so it had some good components to it, but you still got to put your own stuff into it in order to, make it work well for what you're doing in your industry. And so, I mean, we only have now started to add more software because, let's say you're using a spreadsheet. That's great when you're, keeping track of your, clients. But at a certain point, you start to lose leads because, you told someone you're going to follow up, but then your spreadsheet was so messy with all these different colors and all these different things that now you're losing, clients, or you're losing money. And so investing in the systems just allow you to scale quicker and make your employees more efficient. For example, I've just hired a setter that now is going to just all day call back our past clients as well as, call all of our leads and, book in estimates for us. And if she's using a spreadsheet, it would be, there's no notification to say, hey, you said you should supposed to call this person on this date. But now with the CRMs, every day she just clocks in and all the calls of the day that she needs to make are there. And it might be a notification might say, this is your fourth time calling them, but they haven't booked yet. So you're going to keep calling them. And so the notifications are coming up. So less stuff is going to fall through the cracks. And as you grow, I mean, maybe when you're starting out, you got 100 clients. It's not that big a deal. You can keep track. When you got 4,000 or 5,000 clients, you can imagine how many leads could fall through the cracks and how many clients might not get that follow-up that you should do in order to, close them. And a lot of money comes through follow-up. So it's very helpful to have CRMs to help you and allow your employees to get more done without having to add another person.
100%.
So
what's your hiring process like when you're trying to take in a new member?
So we've, over the winter, as we kind of were discussing off camera, we don't do, the snow shoveling, stuff like that, because we want to build the systems. So we've just built out our hiring process now where it's a lot smoother. And so, for example, you apply on Indeed, you have an ad up for window cleaner. I'll have my admin go through that, give you a call, kind of make sure that you've applied for the right position, get a little bit of information. And then from there, if she likes you, then she'll schedule, you out for a Zoom meeting where I can look at you, see your demeanor, see how you present yourself. Are you coming in with, a stain on your shirt, or even worse, no shirt? I had one guy, 3 weeks ago, come on an interview with no shirt on. I'm like, buddy, what are you doing? And that interview was very short.
Did you call him out on it?
Yeah, I did. I was like, man, what are you doing? Like, do you know this is an interview? And so I was just like, it was very quick. And I was like, okay, done. And then from there, once I like them, then from there, I have, I set them up for a tryout, which is basically an in-person 20-minute tryout where we can see, can they pick up a ladder? Are they afraid of heights? I mean, the amount of guys on a call that would tell me, I'm not afraid of heights at all. And then, last year when we didn't have systems, I was just, okay, you're going to go meet Tommy on the job today. You're going to just start. And then he'd be walking the ladder and his knees would be shaking. It's like, bro, I can tell clearly you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
somebody who likes heights, and the job is cleaning gutters. Like, I don't know where you were confused by, you know, how much ladder use we do. And so they get a 20-minute tryout to really show them. And I tell them, you've got 20 minutes to show why you deserve to be on the team.
Yeah.
And it's not me making the decision. It's going to be the production manager that's going to be supervising you. And if he doesn't like you, you're not going to make it because he's not going to be dealing with you all summer long. And then from there, you know, those say, okay, yeah, I'm good. And so then they meet there. My brother goes through them, you know, through a few different things, you know, how pick up a ladder, put on the thing, climb the ladder, clean the gutter out, clean the siding. You know, it's 20 minutes and you can tell pretty quickly who's good and who's not.
Yeah.
And then from there, then they get hired. Now we've created something on one of our softwares where I send them a whole module that has, you know, window cleaning, breaks down all the equipment, breaks down how we do it, breaks down how to clean the tracks and screens, or gutter cleaning, how to do it, what kind of debris there's on there, what, you know, type of equipment you use for what type of debris, because there's, you know, pine needles, there's sticks, there's twigs. And so if it's, you know, pine needles, then you're going to use the vacuum. If there's sticks, then you're going to take it out by hand because the vacuum will get clogged. If it's wet, you know, then you have to definitely just do it by hand. If it's dry, you can go up on the roof and blow it off. So there's, for each service that we have, there's a different way that you should clean it. And so now they watch all those. And then once they're done that, they're going to come out for a training week where they're going to train and do everything. But what's helpful is they watch that. So when they come out for the training on the Monday, they have an idea as to what equipment is for what service and how to do everything. So now, as opposed to us just teaching them theory, they've already got the theory. Now it's hands-on. Okay, you know what this is for. Show me how to do it. And now it's just us just perfecting how they do it.
Yeah.
And so this is going to allow us to have, you know, better trained guys in a shorter amount of time and have them, before they go and work on a client's house, they feel confident and we know that they're good enough to go and do it. And then of course, there's a couple of weeks of just checking up on them, making sure that they're, you know, doing it properly. If they're going to miss things, they're human, and we know that. But that versus last year, where I just call you, or not last year, but a few years ago, I'd call them and be like, you know, do you have a heartbeat, arms and legs? You're hired. You know, we'll see you at the job tomorrow. And they get there and they're either, you know, obese or out of weight, or they can't, you know, they don't know how to, you know, pick up a ladder, or they're scared of heights, or, you know, all these things that we could have avoided had we just had a bit more of a vetting process. Yeah. And so that's something that, you know, when you start your business, you don't think about that. You're just thinking about what's happening that day. Yeah. And you're not hiring in advance. And so just things you learn. And that's really what we're trying to do. Again, this business for me is something that I wanted to be able to run on its own as its own entity. And for the past 7 years, the business has owned me. I haven't owned it. Yeah. And so that's what most business owners have, is a high paying job, not a business. Because if they were to, you know, go away for a week, the business would crash and burn. Yeah. And my goal now, the whole mindset is getting a business point where it can run itself. And I read Built to Sell a couple of years ago, and that book was great because it really, you know, just spoke to me in terms of what I was doing, which a lot of businesses do, is they try and add more services because they think that that's going to be the key. But when you add more services, what happens is now you need more equipment, you need more training, and now you're just a jack of all trades. So for example, if I were to add, let's say, painting, now I've got window cleaning, gutter cleaning, siding cleaning, concrete sealing, painting. Now they're like, you know, as a customer, I would look at that and like, okay, you do all these things, but do you do them well? Yeah. You know what I mean? And so in Built to Sell, he talks about, you know, just picking the things that are the most profitable, that are easiest for you, getting those systemized, and then getting your guys very good and efficient at it. And then also your marketing is now aligned with what you are doing. So you know with confidence that, you know, you're going to show up to the job, you're going to be able to do it well because you've been doing the same thing day after day. Yeah. Whereas when you're doing, one day you're doing, you know, painting, the next day you're doing, you know, cleaning windows, the next day you're doing lawn aerating, the next day you're doing, it's like, you're never going to get good because you're just doing so many services.
Yeah. How close are you to like remove yourself from the business, or are you there yet?
I would say my goal would be by the end of the year. I think at the end of the year, I'll probably be looking to hire an operator. Yeah. And then of course, I'll be able to be out of it where I can then manage the managers within the business. Yeah. And I've got my younger brother who's, you know, really, really good at sales. He's young. He just joined the business about 2 months ago. Sick. And young boy, he picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, or I told him to read that in like December. Yeah. And then January came and he was doing some sales for me. And then he was first year at school and he's like, man, I don't like school. And he built a whole presentation for us saying how, you know, he wants to join us. And so I was like, okay, cool. Then if you really want to join us, drop out of school. And and he's like, well, can I wait till the end of the semester? I'm like, why? You're first year. You're not gonna, if you're gonna join me in the summertime, you're not gonna go back to school, so drop out now. And they thought about it, and then he dropped out and moved back home the next week. And so that was kind of a good, test to see how committed he was, amongst other things. I mean, I told him he's going to earn it. Yeah. He wasn't going to just come in and, be a top dog. He's going to, put in pay his dues. I mean, we're year 7, thousands and thousands of dollars in the business. So I say, I totally want you. You got some really good skills that I don't have, and but you're going to earn that. And so he's going to kind of manage the sales. My other brother's going to manage production, and eventually, as time goes, we'll hire from within, promote guys up to where we have, production managers that can replace him and sales managers that can replace him. And then we're all just kind of, overseeing the managers. That's the goal. Now, ideally this year we'll be able to do that. Maybe not. Maybe next year. We're not going to force it. We're just going to be constantly on the lookout for guys that are taking initiative, guys that are embodying our core values, which are, integrity, work ethic, a good attitude, and coachability. And so that's what I say in my interviews as well, is those 4 things to me are non-negotiables. I don't care what skills you have. If you don't have those 4 things, I don't care if you are, Jordan Belfort. I don't care. I'm not bringing you on because I don't trust you. And if I can't trust you, and if I can't coach you, then what good are you to me, and to the organization?
Yeah. Were you always a natural leader, or is that something you found yourself having to grow into?
So it's funny. I mean, my dad did a good job at, saying like, you have leadership skills. And so I always knew, but again, I wasn't somebody worth following. I was the guy with the clown. I was the guy sometimes cutting corners, not really trying to do the extra things. I always was trying to do things with integrity, but I wasn't necessarily the most lead. I wasn't probably the best leader. And so that was kind of when I decided to pick up the books and start reading. That's when I kind of separated myself from my other 2 partners in the sense of I'm willing to do things that you guys aren't willing to do. And I know that if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so I kind of, led by example and, was willing to make the first step. And then once they see that and they see, me picking up the book and reading, not going out and drinking, not doing all the partying, then they're like, okay, this guy, he's changed. Because most times people see you when you hire your friend, they see you as the friend. They see you as the guy that they know, the clown, the jokester, the funny guy. And when you're able to, put, your standard, raise your standards and, put the line in the sand and say, this is who I am now, this is what I'm doing. They're either going to respect it or they're going to not. Either way, I don't care. But this is what's happening. If you can't do that, then, we're going to distance ourselves, love you from afar. And so it took some time for sure. I mean, even in basketball, I wasn't, I was somebody, I would work hard, but people didn't see me as a leader because I was, joking around. I wouldn't come to the film with all my stuff ready to go. I wasn't doing the prep that I need to do. And so those are things you just kind of learn. But as the business grows, you really do need to step into that. And so again, just watching PBD and stuff like that, I see how hard he works. I see, that people, truly want to follow him, not out of force, but because they actually genuinely believe in what he's doing and see the work he puts in and sees him as somebody that, they want to follow. And that's the goal. You don't want to be, trying to force people into it. You want people to naturally follow you because they see the work you're putting in and they want to get behind somebody like that because, they're not all, they're not all over the place. They're, far and few in between. A lot of times guys come in and, they say, this business is so much different than the other business I worked for because the owners just, don't treat them well or, or tell them to do things that they're not willing to do. Every single guy that comes in my business, they see Ben climbing the ladder. When Ben gets to a job right away, if there's a problem, he'll go and do the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And so now they know if the owners want to come here and do the hardest thing, then why can't I? Yeah. And then for me in the sales, I'm willing to go and, knock on the doors. I'm willing to, make those extra calls. And so now when I bring other guys in, they see that and they're like, okay, well, if he's willing to do it, why can't I? Yeah. And so that's the nice part about having partners. But, partners is a whole other thing that you've got to really be careful for.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was your biggest lesson from the first set of partners you had, right? Because that must have been a tough conversation, dissolving a business like that.
Yeah. So as I said, I started the business Gutter Guys with myself, my brother, my best friend. And at the time, 17, everyone's useless. So there's no real, you can't truly see who's good at what because we're all just kind of the same. We're all just hanging out.
Still growing.
Still growing, still trying to figure out who you are and stuff like that. But then as we grew and as, roles began to mold a little bit more, we started to see, who was really, wanting to, live the entrepreneurial lifestyle and do what's needed to be done. And my other partner at the time, he wasn't. And when I was in Waterloo, my brother, again, he's like a bleeding heart. He'll do whatever is needed and he'll be just the kind guy. And the other partner kind of took advantage of him. And because I wasn't here, I'm more cold-blooded in the sense that I'm blunt, and I'll just call it out. But because I was so preoccupied, I wasn't able to see what was going on. And at the end of the year, we were able to like look back in the whole year and see all the problems and a lot of things going on. And there was a lot of character traits that, you know, weren't matching what me and my brother wanted to do with the integrity, the work ethic, all those things. And so we eventually had to buy him out. And that's because we didn't have proper, you know, documents in place. And so again, at 17, we just signed the document saying, hey, we're all business owners, you know, if it, you know, 30, and, you know, we'll never split up. We'll be here for life. But that's just, you know, not the case. And so when the time did come, it was a little sticky and it got messy and it ended up costing us quite a bit of money, especially at a time when we didn't have a lot. But for us, we really didn't see a path where it could be resolved. And so it was necessary. And now where we're at now, thank goodness. I mean, it just wasn't going to work out. Again, we expect our employees to have those characteristics. And if somebody in the ownership doesn't have those, it's very hard to be able to have that trickle down when, you know, at the top, there's, you know, not the same, you know, characteristics that we want. So
that's a great lesson to learn young, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because like it's like people don't have that experience till like later or when the business gets too serious and they got to pay a lot more, right? So like being so young and going through all that, like probably lawyers and dealing with that, it's a good lesson, man.
Well, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that it was all me. Again, I'm very, very blessed that, you know, my dad was able to kind of see everything. He was kind of like our early on mentor, guidance of what's going on. And, you know, he wasn't trying to meddle with business. So he was kind of still keeping his distance, but he noticed some of the characteristics that, you know, our other partner was kind of demonstrating, and us being all the same friends, you're blinded to those things. You just think, oh, that's just him. But the friend was living with us at the time as well. And so, you know, there were certain things that my dad was seeing that was like, that's not proper, you know, that's not good character right there. And we're like, oh, but come on, she's just joking around. But over time, those things just keep on growing. And so, you know, he did certainly bring that to our attention, where then we started looking for those things and we started seeing those things. And so again, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm just some, you know, wise guy that was able to spot that, you know, at 17 years old. It certainly took, you know, 4 years for us to eventually, you know, have so many things stack up that it broke the camel's back, and we're like, you know, we can't continue this way. But yeah.
And what was the decision with buying the other business? Like you bought, was it Blue Diamond that you bought? Yeah. Like how was that process like?
Yeah. So there was a company here in London that been around for 30 years. And what's funny is my brother, as we were obviously, you know, doing work in the city, we'd see their trucks around, and he used to see their, you know, them pull out the truck and all the equipment they had, because they had some really good equipment. And he used to get, they're just like, you know, so excited seeing it, like, wow, like I wish. And then one of the owner was like 80 something, and he was kind of ready to move on. And he actually shopped around a lot of other businesses, like in our industry. And we were kind of one of the last ones. And I don't know why everyone passed up on it, because we got an amazing deal. Now I can, with saying that, I can kind of understand there was a lot of headaches involved with taking on a business. Now you've got to really open up, you know, and open up the onion and really see what's going on in the internal. And like most businesses, there was not many systems. There was just underpriced jobs, you know, lack of structure, softwares were trash, you know, so we had to go in there and really gut a lot of things out. And I was doing that while I was in Waterloo. So that was the year that I was in Waterloo, and at the end of the summer is when I shut down, because we were running essentially 2 businesses in London plus one over there. And it was just too much. I mean, I was so anxious all the time. I could barely eat. I was constantly just shaking and jittering, because I was so stressed about the bills and how to pay that off. And so we had that bill we had to pay for. And then we also that same year kicked out our other partner. So we had took on a lot of debt that we had to pay off. And so it was a lot. But, you know, now where we're at, it was the best decision, you know, kicking him out and also acquiring that business, because 30 years is, you know, certainly a long time for a business to be around. And so they had a lot of good clients, and they had a lot of good contracts, and they had a lot of good equipment. And best of all, we got their employee that was honestly just amazing. Such a Harvard guy, just came to the country a few years before that. And he had relationships with all the clients. And so he knew all the clients, he knew all the jobs, he knew how to do the equipment, he knew how to do all the work better than us. And so he was, you know, really, really helpful when we bought the business, because while I was in Waterloo, he was able to still just go and do all the jobs. And so that was really, really, really helpful when we were struggling. And so at the end of the year, we gave him very, very, very nice, you know, five-figure bonus at the end of the year, just for saying, you know, thank you for helping us out. And he's certainly someone that embodies everything we want and more. I mean, he treats the company like it's his own, which is really what you want to look for when you are, looking to keep someone as a core component of the company. But to go back to what you're saying, the business we bought, my dad kind of looked at it and said, this is a great deal for what it was. It was a motivated seller. And obviously looking at the books, there was a lot of value in that. And so we kind of crafted the terms for the acquisition.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say I came up with this elaborate scheme, but it's something that was just amazing. So what we did was we, put down, $5,000, and then we told the business owner, we'll pay you $2,000 a month until the payment's complete.
Yeah.
And so for us, as having so much cash flow going out to the other partner and having 2 cities with a bunch of overhead and lack of systems, we were able to maintain that all and still pay him his monthly because the business was generating more than what was paying him by far. And so we were able to just every month just pay him from the profits without really having to take money out of our pockets. And it's a really, really
that's cool amazing terms.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How long was the payoff period, if you don't mind me?
So it was just till it was done. And again, I got it for a great deal. So I think it took us like almost 2 years to pay it off.
Good though.
I think we just made the last payment last month.
Oh, wow. Perfect.
Yeah,
congrats.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that was honestly, I called them for something, and then I realized I was like, oh, actually tomorrow's your last payment.
Yeah.
And so that was nice. And so it came with 3 trucks. It came with a bunch of equipment. It came with a bunch of clients, and it was just a great deal. And so we bought that, and then we were kind of stuck with the point where we had 2 businesses doing the exact same services. And so that's when we made a pivot and made Gutter Guys more of an installation. So we installed gutters, fascia, soffit, gutter guards, downspouts, and Christmas lights. So it's more of an installation company.
Yeah.
Whereas Blue Diamond is now a cleaning company. And so we took all of what they've been doing for 30 years, took all of our Gutter Guys clients, put them into there, and now Gutter Guys, playing off the name. I mean, it's just a really, really easy name to people think of it. They were asking us all the time, do you guys install gutters? Because the name. And we were saying no. And that was kind of a missed opportunity because there's a high ticket item that we could sell with our name. And so we just shuffled all of our clients over to Blue Diamond. So now they have a lot more clients. And now Gutter Guys just installs, a higher ticket thing. So now we have a higher ticket service that is, complementary to the cleaning. Because if I install your gutters, you still got windows, you still got siding, you still got pressure washing, and vice versa. If I clean your windows or your gutters, and I notice your gutters are, broken or need repairing, we can repair them too.
Yeah.
But we're not a jack of all trades because we have 2 brands. And so that's what I was saying earlier, when guys just try and, be a jack of all trades, it doesn't look good in the eyes of the customer. We have now been able to separate those where now you call Gutter Guys and you're getting the Gutter Guys for your gutter problem. Yeah. And if you're calling, you need your windows cleaned, you're getting the Blue Diamond window cleaners. Yeah. So it does add that element of premium to it. Yeah. But then in the back end, we can just flop all the clients over. Yeah. So we're getting, double the amount of clients and
awesome.
Able to hit them on multiple ways. Yeah.
And with the gutters, did you have to learn how to do that trade by yourself? You brought someone that you knew? Or?
Yeah. So I sold the job. My first job that I sold, that was, I think the last year before that. And it was a small job. I think it was like $2,000, and it was just a small gutter. There was maybe like 5 or 6 corners. Yeah. And corners are the hardest thing to do because there's kind of 3 ways. There's a box miter, which you can buy. It's like prefabricated from the store. They're ugly. They leak more. And they're just not what you want to do. That's amateur hour. Then there's like a strip miter, which is like you put the gutters together and then you just put a little strip on it. And that's also amateur hour. It looks really ugly. And so for us, again, being, quality, what you want to be, we were trying to do it the proper way. And so that job, that was $2,000, that normally my new gutter guy, that would take him an afternoon. It took my brother 3 days to do that job, going back all day. Like we're talking all day, just going there. And I'm sure the client probably knew. We were just, but we had the trailer, the truck all wrapped, so we looked professional. But we were just, he'd go home at nighttime after the whole day of just struggling and YouTubing, trying to figure out how to make it work. And so it took him a while. And the first 6 jobs were just way longer than they should have. And we weren't honestly doing it the best way. They were still good. They looked good, but they weren't now how we do them now. So again, most people are just scared of, just trying something new and just going out there and saying, I don't know, I'm going to go do it and just figure it out.
Yeah.
But with my brother and I, we're very confident. We just think we can do it.
Yeah.
And so we just spend time. I'm saying we as if I was doing it. I wasn't doing it. I was selling them with confidence that, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then I just like, all right, Ben, that's you.
Yeah.
Have fun,
Yeah.
And so he certainly struggled at the beginning trying to figure that out. But like all things, the more you do it, the more YouTube you watch, the more, guys you ask in trades, you start to figure it out.
Yeah.
And now we've got a guy that's been doing it for, 30 years. So he came into the business, and then he was actually teaching Ben. And so now we still have him, but now Ben also knows how to do them all very well as well.
Yeah.
And so it's just, again, being willing to just make a change and be able to put in the time. It's not like it was easy. It was very hard and stressful. I mean, when we came home that day, when Ben said he was installing gutters, my stepmom was so worried. Like, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you've never done it before?
Yeah.
Like, this is serious? And we're just like, oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And we did figure it out after 3 days, like 35 hours of hard work. But, that was allowed us to now be able to sell that. And so now we just have 2 divisions, and we're just trying to, run with that.
Yeah. A lot of people shit their pants, right? Because like the investment you put in to start that, then you have to like learn it, proof of concept, and then like make the money back. A lot of people are scared of that. Like,
well, then you got to learn the marketing, and then it's different sales. I mean, you're not asking someone for 200, you're asking someone for, 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah.
And so being able to come in here and why are they going to choose me versus somebody who might know, the terminology a little bit better, or, might have, that 40 years experience or 40 years in the trade, so we had to then kind of shift things up, see how we could make our sales process smoother, get our marketing a little better. And that's why I said, we work 7 days a week, because we're just trying to figure these things out. But we know that putting time into our business is better than having a job by far. I mean, certainly the hard days are often, but the good days make it all worth it. And just seeing, jobs being, now that I've got sales reps coming, just selling for us, seeing, jobs coming in after we train them for a month, and now they're able to go and sell those higher ticket things. It's definitely a nice feeling to see that, and just seeing the progression. And as we, try and hit our goals this year, it's exciting.
Earlier you had mentioned you want to have like more time off of the business. What do you plan to do with the extra time you have?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been sitting here now for about 40 minutes. I've kind of just explained to you all the trials and tribulations. I know others are going through that. And for me, I think that it would be a passion project, as well as just a, really feel good to help other people. So I'm also looking to take everything I've learned, all my systems, and be able to help, and coach other business owners who, are struggling. I mean, if you're in the first 4 years, you tell me and I can tell you exactly, what you should probably do and what you should stop doing. And so I want to be able to then take everything I've learned and have an active business. I mean, so many coaches are coaching and don't have a business. As they say, if you can't do, teach. And that's what a lot of guys are doing. But if you're somebody who's actually doing it, and you have, the warehouse and the guys and the trucks and, the revenue to prove that you actually know what you're doing, I think it would certainly be very helpful to a lot of guys. And so that's kind of what my goals are for the next few years, to be able to do that. But I want to really be able to take myself out of the business completely, so I can then really help others. I've been helping guys a little bit here and there, but as I tell them when they ask me for more help, I'm like, hey guys, honestly, I'm not like the other coaches. I am running a business, and so I'm building systems up. As I build these things up, I'll keep on sending you guys all the resources I have. But I'm not here just telling you how to run a business without actually running a business myself.
And that's very important, because like you said, like a lot of people will be coaching programs without actually like doing it themselves. And that's a whole different industry. You know what I mean?
It's to the great gurus.
For sure. And again, I said, I'm not going to be having the window cleaning forever. I'm not going to be doing the gutters forever. But it's really just good to learn how the fundamentals of business, the marketing, the sales, the systems, the hiring, the training, all those things are invaluable. I mean, even when I go into, trying to find a wife, I'm going to take a lot of things I'm, using for my employees, like setting expectations, saying what the goal is, painting a vision, and then also, bringing in the work ethic. So that way, when I do have a relationship, it's not lopsided, but they know what they're expecting, and they know what, what my standards are and what I'm looking to do. And if they don't want that, no worries. That's the same thing I play. If you don't want that, no worries. But if you, want to join us, there are expectations, there are standards, and that's what, I'm going to expect.
Would you say, like, not that you're avoiding, but would you say that maybe you are quote unquote avoiding a relationship now because you're so busy and you want to build yourself first? Is that something that you keep in mind, like consciously?
Yeah. So that year when we bought the company, we bought out my other partner, it was just so hectic that I actually did, I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend that I basically the day after, New Year's, kind of bad.
Yeah.
But I did that. And then I actually went like sober for 9 months and celibate. So I was just really dialed in. I wasn't wasting any time doing anything because I couldn't. I mean, we had, we bought into the business. We also had to pay out my partner. We had no systems and we had tons of, things to pay for and tons of overhead. So I really had no time to do anything but work on the business. And so now going back into 2024, I'm looking to do the same thing of just focus on the business. Again, I'll let God bring my wife into my life once the time comes.
Yeah.
But I just want to focus on the business, focus on the self development, the improvements, and what you put out is what you attract. So at the time I wasn't able to attract the type of wife that I want. Whereas now I'm able to raise the standards for my future partner from just what I'm doing now. And so a lot of guys get misconstrued the fact that they should, find the girl and then try and prove it. And that is also one way of doing it. But when you're running a business, try to do those things, it just becomes hard and, you'll eventually fall off. And so being able to build that foundation first and then be able to bring somebody into that, I think is what I'm trying to do. And so that's kind of it.
Yeah. What would you say is your why? Like what keeps you going, bro? Like you have a lot of energy, you're a leader, you're clearly like rubbing off on people in the right way.
Super
like
motivated.
what keeps you going?
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously the aspect of, having your life in order, having, the security of, financially being set, health-wise being in order. Obviously you want, some materialistic things. I mean, anyone who says they don't want nice things, they're probably lying. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a huge materialistic guy, but I like, nice clothes. I do like, a nice car, a nice house. I do want those things. And which the way the economy is going, I know that most people haven't, really woken up to what's going on. And so for me, being that I am in a situation where I have, a good family and support, I have a business. I've been doing it for a while now. And, I'm in good health. There's no reason for me not to go out there and, do my 110% because that will inspire other people. It's something that I do want to do is build this support, help other people do it too. Because a lot of friends, when they saw me back in high school, university, be in the cloud, and now they see me now, really doing a lot of good things, they're like, damn. And so I want to be able to encourage and inspire other people to try and, take that leap and do it and just hopefully help them avoid the pitfalls that will, cause them to fail. Because again, if it wasn't for my family, it wasn't for, my brothers, it wasn't for that, my business wouldn't be here. It wouldn't have survived. And also the coaching as well. And so that's really kind of my whys is all those things. And then obviously being able to support a family. I don't have a family now. And I know that that's only going to add more expenses, add more, headaches. And so I want to be able to have my, my finance in order, but then also, and most importantly, I think it all kind of stems to one thing, which is time freedom. I want to be able to, take my kid to practice or, go on that, trip or go to that conference without anyone telling me, or me having to go and ask for, time off. I want to be able to create that. And I don't have that right now with the business. There is a lot of things I have to do. And I've missed out on tons of trips. As I posted on one of my reels, I've missed out on a lot of vacations, things like that, and things that I wanted to do because the business has demanded all my 110% attention. But there's a compound effect to that. I think, as we put more time in, develop more systems and develop more leaders within our organization, I want to be able to step out because I tell them, if I'm doing a job, that is preventing you from climbing. So you want me out of here because now you can take that position. And obviously if you're taking on more responsibility, your commission, your compensation is going to go up. And so that's the way I look at it. And I find a lot of, business owners that let's say are on the tools or, like my brother, for example, who really, built up the business by doing the work. They have a hard time distancing themselves and saying, I'm gonna let the business run because it's almost like a selfish thing of like not being there. And that's something for even me, I'm still kind of having to juggle with and kind of balance that out. Is that like, they're working and I get to go over here and do that. But you have to factor in, we spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching, on equipment, on marketing, on developing our systems, paying, admins to help build all things. So that has been what I've been sacrificing. I haven't got paid for the first 4 years. We made no money. We've had to give up tons of our time and energy. We've missed out on tons of things. I mean, if I just had a regular job or a sales job, I would have made more money. And there's been times where I've wanted to shut things down multiple times and sell it off. But for one, as built to sell, highlights, my business wasn't sellable. So I couldn't even sell if I wanted to. There was no money. There was no value in it. It was nothing. But two, I really just didn't have anything, really to be able to, go to something else. So I actually wanted to go and do sales at one point because I'm like, charismatic guy, very people oriented. I can go and sell, HVAC and make 200 grand a year. I know I could.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're a sales rep, you're going to have to go sell every single day to make your money. Whereas if you build a system and you build a business that can, have people doing things on behalf of the business, that's what allows you the freedom. And it's that toss up between sacrificing those few years in order to be able to have other people do the things within the business that makes the business not only run, but grow. Yeah. And that's where we're at right now. We're just really looking to build it so the business can, if I leave for a month, it's not only going to maintain, but there's going to be maybe more sales 1 month, or, they're going to come up with new ideas for me. Great. But it certainly does take a lot of that sacrifice. And most people just can't do it because they also put themselves in a bad situation. They get, baby mama, they get, financially in a tough situation, they've just, ruined their health. So then they're not able to, and that's why a lot of people, if you're watching this, don't take for granted your 20s. A lot of people want to say, oh, I want to have fun in my 20s, but I think that's a fallacy. You should spend this time now while you have the most energy. I mean, in your 30s, you're going to have less energy than in your 20s. And in your 40s, you're going to have less energy than your 30s. So why not take when you have the most amount of energy and build something that eventually can work for you versus you having to work for somebody else for, until you retire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. Would you say that the little kid version of you, would they be proud of the man you are today?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, when I started the business, I dreamed of having a warehouse, having my own office, hitting that $1 million mark. And while now I'm like, $1 million, it's kind of nothing.
Yeah.
Like when you factor in, it's not $1 million in profit, it's revenue. And once you got expenses, you've got, overhead, you've got, marketing stuff, you've got all these things. It really isn't that much, and not that much to me because I have big goals and I want to be able to earn, substantially more than, let's say, the average person thinks is impossible. Yeah. But I'm able to think like this because I have people around me that are doing, $100,000, $200,000 a month. And so it's very possible. In my mind, that limiting belief is not there. I know I can do it. I know how to do it. I just now need to spend my time, chipping away at it. And so to your question, the, 13, 14-year-old me, yeah, for sure. I mean, for 100%, he'd be looking at me like, damn, okay, let's go.
What a beast.
Well, for sure. And I mean, if I could tell him something, I would tell him to pick up a book. That would be helpful. I see, Amar, for example, a great guy. He got British Report had given to him at, grade 7.
Yeah.
I'm like, could you imagine grade 7? And there's some guys that are 40s that are looking at me like, oh man, I wish I had that. So there's always that component of I wish I did more. And the best time to do more is now.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have less tomorrows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. What would you say is your next 3-year goal for you as a business owner?
Yeah. So systemize the business where me and my brothers are able to just manage the business, but not be in the business at all. Being able to help coach other guys, and eventually either start a podcast or just keep on doing the social media stuff, because again, there is just more reach. There's so much potential out there. And if you're willing to put yourself out there, there's so much opportunity. But even for me, being someone who's charismatic, outgoing, has played sports, has been in, a bit of the limelight in certain aspects of my life, it's even tough. I mean, I had, these reels in my archive for a couple months, and I was so hesitant to post them because I'm so worried about, what Joe Blow's going to say about how I looked or how I said that word, or, what I said. But the reality is nobody cares about you. Yeah. Like nobody, I'm sure I'm telling you guys, but you guys obviously know this. Like realistically, I posted a clip and nothing happened. I posted another one and nothing happened. Yeah. I posted another one, nothing. So it's like, it's all in our minds. And someone who, is, so who's been in the limelight for a lot, I still struggle with this. So it's not like, I have it all figured out. I'm still dealing with the same struggles that the next person's dealing with. But just being able to have that courage to just do it and put yourself out there. And, the opportunities are endless if you're willing to do that and really, put yourself in a situation where you might look stupid. And it's easier said than done, 100%. That's why I'm only at 7 reels posted. Yeah. But there's also an aspect of, I want to make sure that I'm not, focusing on the extras when I'm trying to build, what's really going to put the food on the table.
Yeah. Because a lot of people are like, I would say ego driven, right? Like they want to show that they have a business, show that everything is going on. But like you said, once you like peel the curtains, you see all the mess behind the business, like the things they're lacking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think 96% of businesses never reach $1 million.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you really can't reach $1 million without systems. I mean, maybe if you are in a specific niche where you pick up, I mean, that's a good thing. If you can hit $1 million without having systems, you're probably in a really good market.
Yeah.
But most people don't have the capital to go into that market or the knowledge to be able to do that. And so, you know, most people, first of all, pick the wrong, you know, market to go in. But secondly, they don't have the systems or the knowledge on how to build the business up. And so when I look at that statistic, I'm like, damn, okay. So I'm already in the, you know, 4th percentile of businesses. I want to get to that 1%. You know, I want to be able to reach those, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 figures in the business. I guess I've already reached 6 and 7, but 8 and 9 and 10, you know, and that's going to require a different me to be able to do that. And so, you know, the systems that we have and the person who I am is somebody who can, you know, run $1 million business. But the difference between running $1 million business and $10 million business is night and day. The same way that running a, you know, a $50,000 business and a $200,000 business are different as well.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from, you know, friends around me that are running bigger businesses is people, building leaders. A lot of times business owners, you know, they want to, you know, keep all the gems to themselves because they're scared that their business owner, you know, their employees are going to go and steal and try and copy them. Yeah. And I struggle with that. I struggle with that myself for the longest time, really up until like last year where I was like, I'm tired. I'm tired. And it's because I was trying to do so many things versus just trying to develop leaders and find guys that I can invest my time in to show them things that they've never known before that will allow them to feel like they really want to go out there because I've given them so much, you know, information. And as I say, you can give a guy a fish eat for a day, teach him how to fish. He'll never go hungry. Yeah. I want to be able to put a fishing rod into the hands of all the guys that work with me so they're able to go and do the things that they need to do. And hopefully they stay within the business and they're able to grow and help us grow and that make more money as well. But there's just so many times business owners want to just hoard the information themselves. Yeah. And it's just to the detriment. I mean, you can't run a business without people. That's ultimately it. And so being able to put time into people so they can eventually level up themselves. Because if you know all the knowledge, but nobody else does.
Yeah. What's the point, right?
Well, what's the point? And good luck.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, and like I know 100% you're gonna reach those goals, man. Just like the way you carry yourself, the way like I can just tell by the way you're talking, like how confident you are in your vision. You know what I mean? So I applaud you with that, man. Like you're crushing it. Is there any other things you would like to get out to our audience? Like any things you want to get off your chest, like so that they can maybe find you online or something?
Plugins, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be posting up more content. Jackson Certified on Instagram. You can just follow me if you have any questions. Just send me a DM. I'm trying to get back to those who do reach out to me. But if you're kind of on the fence, really just do it, but do it in the right way. I would recommend first, if you want to run a business, find somebody who's running a business and go and teach and learn from them and, maybe take a pay cut, but learn the systems and really look at what they're doing because it'll save you so much time if you just go and try and do it yourself. You could have, saved yourself a year or two in terms of the learning gap there before you go start your own. And a lot of times people don't want to take that pay cut in order to, learn the information they need to be able to earn more. Yeah. And if you're willing to, humble yourself, go to somebody and say, I don't know anything. I'm hungry. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I just want to learn. And then you actually back that with action. The world is yours and you just got to go out and get it. But most people are lazy, and that's why most people are broke and fat and out of shape and miserable.
So, yeah,
facts. I guess we'll leave it like that.
Leave it like that.
Yeah,
perfect.
And honestly, thank you so much for taking the time. We'll definitely have you on the podcast, like another episode. You know what I mean? Because I know there's gonna be a lot of updates soon. Yeah. Near or far future. Yeah. But no, thank you so much, man. And for those who listened thus far, we blessed you guys again. Another fire episode in regards to business, and make sure you follow Jackson.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. You guys are doing great stuff. I love that. There's podcasts in the city that are putting on entrepreneurs and spreading the word and connecting people together. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. Honestly, you guys are doing something that I haven't been able to do yet. So I really applaud you guys for having that consistency. You guys said this is episode 82?
85. This one,
85 of every single week. That is something that I think most podcasts don't get to episode like 20.
Yeah.
And so you guys being at, episode 85, that's just a testament to you guys' determination and consistency. And so I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that I was able to spend time with you guys. And yeah, make sure you guys are watching their stuff. They're gonna have lots of other really crazy business owners that are gonna be able to put you on tons of games. So don't miss out.
Appreciate that. All right,
You're a monster. Thank you.
peace, everyone. Peace.